All right, looks like we're live. All the screens possible. I'm the real _G Warner, and this is a late night edition of the soccer podcast that I do twice a week. Supposed to be traveling, assuming the Storms hold off tomorrow, to a college basketball game in West Virginia. West by God, and hopefully by God we win some money this weekend. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the English Premier League as soon as I can pull up these numbers. And we have a Friday match this week. Southampton hosting Norwich. Currently, Southampton a 1-goal favorite, which is a lot bigger than I made it. Southampton has been playing better, getting a lot of results, and over the past few seasons have been pretty strong when they have a full team, which they're pretty healthy from what I see. Norwich on the other side have been playing a lot better under Dean Smith. I still don't believe that they're a great offense. I think they're still the lowest goals scored per game in the league. Their defense has been a little bit better lately, though, and getting a full goal of insurance is a pretty nice number to have against Southampton, who probably are not likely to score more than one. I guess this really depends who scores the first goal, because Southampton are much more likely to get a second if they get a first. Or they get the first of the game. I don't know from what I sit. I mean, it's hard for me not to want to look into Norwich a little bit deeper as getting the full goal of insurance. Moving to Saturday, Leeds host Tottenham, currently a half a goal underdog. And it's really hard to back Leeds based on recent performance and how many goals they've conceded in the past few matches. I don't necessarily believe that Tottenham are anywhere. I mean, still crazy that they went to Man City as a 1 3/4 goal underdog, despite being one of the big 6 clubs in the EPL, and won at Manchester City. I mean, it just shows how poorly they were playing. And they followed it up with a pretty nice dud, though. They definitely hit the crossbar, the woodwork, or the metal piping around the net a few times. In their loss to Burnley in midweek. Leeds with a throttling by Liverpool makes a lot more sense. Far better opponent. Got to think that Tottenham are in a situation to bounce back. They're a deeper squad with a lot more able players than Leeds, who are dealing with tons of injuries all over. Leeds currently half a goal underdog at home. I just don't know that they're really backable at this point, and I think I just really want to bet against them as a favorite. But I don't even know who they'll be favored against unless they got a home game against one of the worst teams in the league. Next, Brentford hosting Newcastle, currently a pick-em with all the juice on Brentford. I don't know which Brentford team this line's for. Maybe the one from the beginning of the season, because they have been so bad. Newcastle certainly dealing with some injuries. Trippier out, I think, for the season. But Brentford haven't been able to score goals. Their defense has looked like a championship level defense. And as a favorite, if this moves to a quarter, I will likely have Newcastle on my card Saturday morning. Brighton then hosts Aston Villa. Currently, Brighton a quarter goal favorite at home. Neither of these teams playing very well. Neither have a lot of goal threat. Though I got to say, Aston Villa with Philippe Coutinho. He's the scariest player on the pitch. Neil Maupay just doesn't really do it for me for Brighton. He's scored some clutch goals and late in games as well, and bailed me out a couple times this season. But when that's your number one attacking threat, I just don't really believe in that. Danny Welbeck just seems like he's off the pace or doesn't play enough to be as sharp as he needs to be, because they don't get a lot of chances. They control the ball a ton under Graham Potter, but they don't do much with that. And as a favorite, especially against the side, Aston Villa hasn't been playing great, but I think they're better. They spend a lot more money, that's for sure. Spent a ton of money this season. I'm certainly looking at Aston Villa as a quarter goal underdog on the road. Crystal Palace then hosting Burnley, currently half a goal favorite at home. And I mean, I guess a good showing midweek against Watford, who finally were broken defensively under Roy Hodgson. But I mean, they're still a pretty poor defense would be leading the league if they probably had played enough games and weren't, I guess, playing a style like Leeds are. But Crystal Palace's offense, I'm not really going to overreact to 3 goals scored midweek against Watford. One was a huge deflection. One was a great piece of play by Conor Gallagher. But and then the last one, I don't really recall. I want to say it was a magic from Wilfried Zaha. I mean, that could happen, but The Palace defense is never that impressive. Burnley, I mean, Wout Weghorst, what a signing. He's been great goal scorer for years now, but to come on the way he has at Burnley and it's like pulling them out of the relegation spat with millions of matches still left for them to make up. Pretty impressive. Maxwell Cornet has an Achilles injury and missed the match midweek. But Burnley didn't seem to need him. They're going to play really, really tight football on the road. Going to make it hard on Crystal Palace, try to prevent them from having chances. Manchester United, a 1.5 goal favorite. Really big number considering they played midweek and really kind of struggled against Atleti, but somehow escaped with a draw thanks to Liga coming in and scoring. I wonder if he starts based on that huge goal midweek. Watford are going to go to Old Trafford and are going to sit behind the ball and try so hard to prevent goals and make this a 0-0 for as long as possible. I think that's a decent chance that happens. Manchester United giving more than a goal just seems silly based on how they've been playing. Watford certainly aren't great, but they do have some counterattacking resources or ability with Sarr and Emmanuel Dennis. Now, I'm a little bit worried about Watford having to play another game back-to-back because they played midweek, and 3 games in 8 or 9 days is a lot different for them to sustain than Manchester United. But that 1.5 goals of insurance is a lot there that they can still lose the match and cover a spread. And based on Manchester United and how the money always flows in, there's probably going to be some more that comes in, and we might even see more than the 1.5 goals. Based on Manchester United and how they've been playing and how they've struggled to score, I feel like that is not a terrible look to consider the back Watford getting 1.5 goals. Last but not least, on Saturday, Everton hosting Manchester City, getting 1 3/4 goals at home. I mean, what an incredible rise for Manchester City and a fall from Everton. But Everton are in a relegation spat, which is now like 7 or 8 teams deep, it seems. And Frank Lampard, I mean, he's going to try to be in the front foot, it seems like, with his Everton team, and you need to do that in order for them to score. They don't want to do that, though. They want to defend here against Man City. And City, I mean, still licking their wounds from the Tottenham loss. But I just, it's hard for me to understand exactly who I want to back against Manchester City. And an Everton defense that is not very good is not one that I want to do that for. Now move into, if I can find it, the cup final for Liverpool and Chelsea at Wembley. Forgot to put that in the description, but whatever. Chelsea currently a 1/4 goal underdog, and Liverpool a -150 favorite to win. So you get a little bit of candy. $1 wins 120 on Chelsea to lift the trophy. I think this line's probably fair. I thought I think I made it 1/4, but could certainly see Liverpool trending towards a 1/2 goal favorite, even though it's a neutral site. I don't believe in Chelsea at all. I feel like their defense is solid, and that's what makes them a decent underdog, especially on a neutral site. Should be a pretty packed crowd. I think Liverpool have shown, they got one less day to rest because they had to play on Wednesday, where Chelsea played Tuesday in Champions League. But Liverpool walked through Leeds. I guess there's a little bit of an advantage based on the amount of rest, but travel doesn't seem to be that different because they're both in England. Chelsea doesn't have to go as far, but the way the trains work, I don't see that being a big issue in England. And, if gun to my head, I'm picking Liverpool to win this match. So I'm not sure that I want to back only getting 1/4 from Chelsea. Maybe at a 1/2 goal that makes things a lot different, but until I see that, which doesn't look like it's getting there based on juice, I'm going to leave that behind. Moving next to La Liga. So Levante hosting Elche, currently giving 1/2 goal with all the juice on Elche for good reason. And even if this falls to 1/4, I think Elche are worth the bet. Levante, I just don't really believe in. Hard to, considering where they sit in the table. They give up a ton of goals. They don't score that many. Aren't great at the penalty spot, which is really what's put them in this position where they're bottom of the table and adrift from everyone else. They've been playing better lately, trying to fight their way back in. Elche have had a little bit of a swoon after a really good start to the season, but got a good comeback win against Rayo Vallecano, and I think they've been playing a lot better. So certainly Levante are the more historic club in La Liga, but ultimately I feel like those at the bottom aren't really that different from one another, and Elche have been playing really well. Tete Morente seems like to be the best offensive threat on the pitch, and Levante have a ton of issues. So I like Elche. Moving to Saturday, we have Majorca hosting Valencia. Currently, Majorca, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice on Valencia on the road. I mean, surprised to see Majorca favored over Valencia. Majorca playing a lot better with Mariki, transferred in or on loan from Lazio. It's like the new fan favorite, the pirate, I think, as they're calling him, El Pirata, whatever it would be in Spanish. Valencia, got embarrassed by Barcelona. I imagine that'll feed into who they are and how they play in this matchup. I think they're going to be really aggressive and are going to be very physical. We'll see if Majorca can sustain that, because Majorca's offense really, until Mariki arrived, was just really non-existent. Majorca is feeling a little better from where they were in terms of the relegation spat. Valencia, I don't think, are worried about that. But Valencia do have a little bit of a look ahead to Copa del Rey midweek. So it's 8 a.m. Eastern time in the U.S. on Saturday morning. I'm certainly going to be looking to see what that lineup looks like. I guess it kicks off then, so a little before, to see who Valencia is potentially resting for their cup match, Copa del Rey, and a big one because they're 1-1 moving into the second leg with Real Sociedad, I believe. No, that's not true, with somebody. Anyway, we'll get to it. Getafe then hosting Alaves the next match. Alaves getting half of a goal on the road. Big number for Getafe to lay, considering their offense is pretty quiet, but Enes Unal has been very good. And Alaves, I mean, what a 0-0 at halftime with Real Madrid last weekend, and gave up 3 goals, including a ridiculous penalty late because La Liga officials just continue to bone me. But I'm just not going to talk about that anymore. So Alaves, they haven't done much offensively, coming off an all defensive effort. They probably want to play on the front foot a lot more, especially that's what Mendilibar wants, especially with this high line. From where I sit, I just don't know that half a goal is enough on Alaves. Even if Getafe is missing players from their lineup, Getafe's defense is going to make it really hard for Alaves to score. I guess the more I talk about it, the less likely less likely Getafe are to be trusted to score. And that makes a half a goal a big deal, because a goalless draw, especially on the road, might be what they're shooting for, would win a full bet. But I'm going to move on, because I'll probably talk myself into betting it if I keep going. Rayo Vallecano then hosting Real Madrid, getting 3/4 of a goal. Real Madrid, not pretty for sure. Been struggling big time, and certainly have Champions League second leg with PSG to look ahead to in the future. I don't think that's coming up next week, though. Whatever. Rayo Vallecano just simply, they played really well to start the season, playing a lot of the bad teams at home. Very fortunate, and it's made them fairly safe. But they've been on a huge downward spiral. And getting less than a goal from Real Madrid, despite successes at home, I'm not interested in backing that. Even if it probably gets to 1, I still don't think that's enough. Atleti then hosting Celta de Vigo, currently giving 3/4 of a goal with all the juice, might be climbing to a full 1. Celta de Vigo, not a great result, tying Granada on Monday, but Atleti had to play on Tuesday or Wednesday against Manchester United and put as much as they could into that matchup, and took a lead and couldn't hold on. I thought Atleti were very fortunate last weekend as well, La Liga officials, but I'm not talking about that, I promised. Celta, they're not a great defense, but they can score goals, and I think they're going to really put Atleti under threat, because Iago Aspas is the best goal scorer on that pitch, no matter how much he's worth or how old he is. And so getting 3/4 of a goal, it looks like it's trending towards 1. That +1 looks really nice. Moving to Sunday, Villarreal hosting Espanyol. Villarreal, a 1-goal favorite with all the juice. Got a good equalizer after falling behind after 32 seconds or whatever in Champions League against Juve, but that's certainly going to zap some legs. They rotated their entire roster, or as much as they could, last weekend for their match against Granada. They were able to win that one, and so that worked out. On the road, especially, though it wasn't as easy as the scoreline suggested. Espanyol, getting a full goal of insurance is a lot for them, because they play decent defense. It's hard to say that I'm really interested in their offense, though. Raul de Tomas can get loose from time to time, and is certainly someone to worry about. I think Villarreal are certainly set on, or they're on a pace, playing a lot better than they did to start the season, thanks to a lot more attacking health. But I think Gerard Moreno is still missing. and they had to play midweek. This is their third match when Espanyol will be playing too. So that's helpful to Espanyol. And currently it looks like this number is climbing to 1.25. I'm going to have to think about this a lot more, though, which how I feel about the Espanyol defense and trying to cause problems for Villarreal. I don't think it'll be as easy as Granada's defenders running into each other and leaving a breakaway to Danjuma or a penalty or all these ridiculous things. But ultimately, when you start talking about a number over a goal with tired legs, that becomes more interesting to me. Sevilla then hosting Betis in a big derby. Sevilla, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They're missing Koundé suspended and more, I believe. There is a big deal on this number if it gets to a half versus a quarter because you win a full bet on a draw. Crowd will be nuts. I imagine there's going to be some Betis people that are sneaking in as well. And Betis had to play on Thursday. Well, I guess both Sevilla and Betis did. And the nice part for Betis is they were at home. And I want to say, I think Sevilla were at home as well for the Czech team they played. But regardless, a lot of tired legs here. Betis have been playing a ton of matches, have the Copa del Rey midweek to worry about, but ultimately they're more interested in this matchup, I believe. I think Copa del Rey is important to them, but the Sevilla derby, Grand Derby, as I think as they call it, is very important. And Sevilla are missing too many players. Martial got hurt. Their offense and attack hasn't really been clicking of late. Betis have been scoring a ton of goals, so I'm pretty interested in backing them despite fighting that big crowd. Real Sociedad then hosting Osasuna. Currently, Sociedad a half a goal favorite with all the juice right now. Had to play and got kind of controlled by RB Leipzig, which is funny because they controlled the match in East Germany, but couldn't hold on or really couldn't hold on to a 2-1 lead and then did not play well today. Tired legs from a side that looks like they're gassed or just really not playing well after a good start to the season for like the third straight year. Osasuna is certainly not great, but have been a lot better on the road. And I think that will fit their like we're going to defend mentality coming off a pretty disappointing loss to Athletic at home. Though, as I mentioned already, the officials were not exactly helping. Getting half of a goal, and this is trending higher. So I'm pretty interested in Osasuna. It's hard to back them because they don't score goals, but Sociedad had a really tough time scoring until Europa League, or really until they played Granada, I think a couple of weeks ago, and got a really fortunate handball that kind of set them up to get a second one late. Things are not great with Sociedad right now. Embarrassed in the Basque Derby last weekend, so I'm pretty interested in backing it or going against a team that's been struggling and really can't be feeling very good about itself. Certainly will be out for blood, but I don't know that's a great thing when you're playing well. Barcelona then hosting Athletic Club, currently giving a goal, three-quarters of a goal right now with all the juice. So that might be climbing to a full goal. And Athletic Club are like basically in a spot where I want to back them as a full goal underdog against anybody. It could be against a FIFA All-Star team, and I think I would want to do it because they're going to sit back, they're going to defend, they're going to try to counter. Barcelona are playing better, but had to get through Napoli today in Europa League. Athletic Club do have an eye on that Sevilla match for the Copa del Rey midweek, but this is still very important to them, I'm sure. They might care a little bit more about the Copa del Rey, but we'll certainly be able to see that from lineups, and certainly Barcelona will climb into a goal favorite if that number happens. Coming in pretty confident off a big Basque Derby victory, 4 second half goals. And they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves, which I think is what you need because Barcelona are feeling good about themselves as well. Though I don't necessarily believe in who they are or like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's return to glory. I feel like we'll see if he can get another hat trick with the third goal coming off of his back bent over. So I'm interested in Athletic Club, especially when it climbs to 1. Granada then hosting Cadiz, currently a half a goal favorite at home. Huge number for Granada, who have not been playing very well lately, and I've been finding that out the hard way. Cadiz not playing great either. Certainly want to give up a ton of possession away, which is not what I would hope for. But ultimately, Sergio Gonzalez has been better for them, and I think that they've shown some signs of being better under him, including their Copa del Rey success until they ended up going out. But Granada, their goal scoring has been not great as of late. Their defense has been pretty bad. They're working in a lot of new players, and I think they're relatively safe. So they're not as worried and won't be as fighting as hard as Cadiz, who will be trying to go on the road and try to keep this as tight as possible. I worry that Ledesma has been giving up a ton of penalties or just not saving them, whoever's been giving them up. And that is a problem when you're only getting half of a goal. And it's very juiced right now. So maybe this falls to a quarter. I just don't think that there's enough people that want to back Cadiz this season, or really probably until they're in the Segunda, which might be happening. And they do have that pressure. But ultimately, Granada is a big favorite at home. Doesn't make a lot of sense when a draw wins a full bet. I feel like a quarter would keep me away. Half doesn't seem to do that right now. So that's Spain. Going to Serie A, where we have some Italian matches, actually 2 on Friday. AC Milan hosting Udinese. Currently AC Milan a 1-goal favorite with all the juice. Udinese is just not playing great defense. They're better offensively, but against AC Milan, you need to defend, and I don't know if I can trust them to do that. So that's probably a skip, even with the full goal of insurance trending towards 1.25. Genoa then hosting Inter. Currently Genoa a 1.5-goal underdog at home. Playing better lately, but got a long way to go, and to challenge Inter Milan, especially coming off a loss to Sassuolo. Hard to want to step in the bear trap right there. I think these are both being played because both of the Milan teams are playing the Coppa Italia early next week. Salernitana hosting Bologna on Saturday morning. Currently 0.5-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Might be likely fall into a quarter. Salernitana playing better. They brought in a lot of players that were kind of has-beens, cast-offs, or whatever. But they've got a lot of veterans in their team now, and they're trying to fight their way up the table from being basically adrift and relegated already. But until the opera singer sings or whatever, it's not over with. Bologna, I mean, 2 good goals coming from behind from Arnautovic to crush me on Monday. But that's what happens when Spezia gets a lead and then decides to play defensive football for 90 minutes or however long, 85 minutes that were remaining. Salernitana getting a half is of interest to me. I just don't know. I mean, I still don't think Bologna is very good or really respect them very much, but they are a much better side than Salernitana, and they got a lot more juice in those legs than Salernitana's AARP squad does. Probably Italians wouldn't understand that. Anyway, Everton hosting Juve, currently getting a 0.75 of a goal at home. Most of the juice on Juve. Maybe this is climbing to 1, but I'm not sure how I feel about Empoli right now. I think as a big underdog, they're still of interest to me. Juve looked good to start their match midweek in the Champions League, but then kind of fell apart, and that was pretty disappointing. Seeing them concede because they were in pretty good position against a Villarreal club that probably is a competitive side, but was one that is still worse than Juve. Juve dealing with a ton of injuries, though. Bringing on Bonucci at halftime because it's probably all he had, like 50 minutes in him. And there's a lot of injury problems in center back, so we'll see who's available there. Not that Empoli can really threaten them too much offensively, but they've been scoring a ton of goals this year, so maybe I'm selling them short by saying that. Juve seemed to be Vlahovic, and Dybala's been hurt. I'm not sure if he's returning for this one, if he couldn't even put a minute in or be in the squad for the Champions League match midweek. So there's some injury concerns with Juve because I don't think Chiesa is anywhere around playing either. So maybe we'll keep an eye on Empoli if it climbs to a goal. Sassuolo then hosting Fiorentina off a huge win against Inter Milan. Currently pick them with all the juice on Fiorentina right now. Fiorentina has been getting a lot of respect, been playing well. Krzysztof Piatek has been scoring more goals than I think he scored in like all of his time at Hertha Berlin through his dreams and on the pitch. Not a lot for me to do at Pick'em though, so I'll just move on in the interest of time because it's like way too late for me to be doing this right now. Torino then hosting Cagliari on Sunday. Currently Torino a 3/4 goal favorite with most of the juice. If this climbs to a full goal, probably happy off their performance, controlling Juve, but ultimately getting a draw because that's what they do. They don't score enough goals. So at a full goal of insurance, I think Cagliari will probably make my card. We'll see if it gets there at a reasonable price. I just don't know that Torino, despite all the good things that they do, I just don't think they score enough. I mean, Bellotti being back is a big thing for their goal scoring potentially, but he's been absent for so long. It's hard to really see him kicking back in and scoring in multiple games in a row. Verona then hosting Venezia. Currently Verona 1-goal favorite. And they're scoring goals again, I guess. We'll see because it didn't look great against Juve, but it did last week or from what I remember most recently. And that's kind of who they were, a goal scoring team. Venezia are going to sit behind the ball and try to defend. I didn't expect this one to be a full goal of insurance, but Venezia has cashed pretty well as a big underdog. I mean, They were favored last weekend, and I think maybe would have deserved 3 points, didn't get them, and but did in the situation against Torino, coming from behind, if I remember correctly. And ultimately, Verona have plenty of flaws defensively. So pretty interested in Venezia hanging on to a 1-0 loss potentially, but see them being a threat to Verona, whose defense has not been great. And I mean, there's an opportunity for Verona to score a bunch here and blow this one out of the water. But with that full goal of insurance, it's hard for me to resist Venezia, who's been pretty competitive so far this season and are trying to get themselves as far from the relegation spots as possible, though I think they're probably in it right now. Spezia then hosting Roma, currently getting half of a goal at home with all the juice on Roma. Roma not playing great, but Spezia really, I think from backing them on Monday and having them take an early lead and then watching an offensive side just try to play defense the rest of the time was really silly. And I was kind of worried that they're going to be too offensive, but they went completely the other way. And I don't really know what to say about them, but for where they sit in the table, I think they need points and they didn't play the right strategy. Clearly didn't work out. So I'm angry about it, I guess, even 5 days later, whenever today is. Roma, I think, are better, and I don't really want to back Spezia even at home as an underdog with likely 3/4 of a goal in my pocket. And maybe if this climbs to 1, I'll think about it, but probably not until then. Lazio then hosting Napoli, coming off a pretty embarrassing crashing out of the Europa League at the hands of Porto, despite taking a lead, I think, if I remember correctly today, and taking a lead in the first leg as well. Anyway, they're hosting Napoli, currently getting a 1/4 goal at home with all the juice. Maybe this falls to pick them. Napoli, pretty disappointing crash out to Barcelona as well and got hammered today at home. But good bounce back opportunity. Certainly would be interested in them as an underdog. Lazio, I feel like their defense is just weak and they are going to struggle against teams that score a lot of goals. Napoli have that in them, though they've been dealing with a ton of injuries so far. And we'll see what the lineups look like from this one, as both teams should be probably rotating or at least focused on trying to get some people some rest. Atalanta then hosting Sampdoria on Monday. Atalanta 1.25 goal favorite. Pretty big number. Atalanta minus 1.25, big number based on Atalanta not having a forward healthy for a long time now. But they did get a pretty good win against Olympiacos in the Europa League today. So I think from where I sit, I'm a little bit interested in Sampdoria getting more than a goal, but I really don't like them, and they're really good at throwing everything forward when they're trailing late. And Atalanta, their offense hasn't been good or really that interesting or scary to be afraid of. I guess gun to my head and play Sampdoria, but I like underdogs too much. Move to the Bundesliga, and we have a Friday match: Hoffenheim hosting Stuttgart. Stuttgart just can't score, and Hoffenheim score a ton of goals at home. They're 1-goal favorite, and that kind of feels short to me. Leverkusen then hosting Arminia Bielefeld, giving a 1.5. Back Arminia Bielefeld all the time. Got rewarded last weekend in a good win, but this is not a good matchup because they're going to try to defend the whole time, and Leverkusen can score a ton of goals. Bielefeld certainly have looked like a way different team with Wimmer on the pitch. He's awesome, and I imagine he'll move this summer, especially if Bielefeld stay in, unless they can somehow afford him, but I can't imagine they will. Leverkusen scored too many goals. I just don't think Bielefeld can keep up, and those are the teams I want to avoid. Teams that can't score against teams that can. Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting Wolfsburg, giving half of a goal with all the juice on the Wolfsburg side. Wolfsburg have been playing better. Hard not to, because they were in relegation talk after being in Champions League. Crazy how things change over a season. Florian Kohfeldt is going to bring a defensive mindset because that's what he does, because he has no offense to talk about. Wolfsburg did spend a lot of money in the transfer window, bringing in Max Kruse, stealing him from Union Berlin midseason, which was really unexpected. And he apologized for it to the Union fans, because I'm sure they were very sad about that. They brought in Vind, who's I think a Danish player as well from one of the teams. There's a lot of them. Hard for me to keep it all straight at this hour. I don't know. Gladbach, got embarrassed last weekend by Dortmund, and then all of a sudden need to win this match because a draw wins a full bet for Wolfsburg at the current number. I mean, this might fall to a 1/4, but even then, I think I'm a little bit more interested in Wolfsburg, even though I kind of swore them off recently. They were a really good team to bet against as a favorite because they weren't winning any matches, but this is a little different as an underdog. Greater Fürth then hosting Cologne. Currently Fürth getting half of a goal at home from Cologne, who got I mean, Modeste didn't start, didn't do much offensively. Cologne probably controlled the game more than I expected them to against Frankfurt last weekend. Got a late goal thanks to Hinteregger continuing to just play like it. A guy that forgot how to play, which is a big deal for Austria, but I guess they're probably not playing in anything in the World Cup, so whatever. I think I'm right on that. Anyway, fourth, they just don't seem to be Bundesliga quality, and I'm not looking to back them getting less than a goal, and probably shouldn't have backed them getting a goal recently. Freiburg then hosting Hertha Berlin, giving a full goal, which is a huge number, but that speaks to how bad Hertha are, dealing with Mark Oliver Kemp, who they signed from Stuttgart because he wasn't going to get a long-term deal there. He's suspended after a red card, and after I think taking a lead against Leipzig, losing 6-1 is pretty gross. Freiburg have not been playing well, though. I mean, got a win last weekend, got a little bit of respect from the marketplace, moving to a favorite at Augsburg, despite I don't think ever winning there in the Bundesliga until last week. So what happened? I bet them, I guess, or bet against them, things that have never happened before, all of a sudden do. So I'm interested in Hertha based on getting the full goal, because Freiburg look unlikely to win by multiple goals. I mean, they certainly have a much better idea. Christian Streich is way better manager than whatever Hertha is going to trot out there. Their team's cohesive. They've got a lot of depth. They're going to put a lot of pressure with a lineup that they rotate. The 5 subs are so good for them. Giving a full goal is a big number, though. So I'm going to try to avoid Hertha before the weekend's over. Union then host Mainz, currently a pick'em with most of the juice on Union. I'd like to back Union as an underdog, and I have, and they've been great to me over the last few seasons, but they are falling apart, and all their good players have been stolen away or signed away, and they've been cashing in probably not even that much money, because I think a lot have been moving on low price deals. Mainz, with a great performance on Friday last weekend, they're going to bring the pressure. The two defensive sides are going to mess each other up, almost war. But at Pick'em, not much for me. Would love to see Mainz move to an underdog, though, as I've been making great money betting against Union. Eintracht Frankfurt then hosting Bayern Munchen, currently getting a goal and a quarter. And Frankfurt started off the year pretty slowly, couldn't score any goals, finally scored some goals, and they've been struggling of late. I don't know what to say about them, though. And hosting Bayern Munchen, only getting a goal and a quarter, does not sound like enough for me. So I think I am going to skip that one, unless it climbs a ton, which I just don't even want to go against Bayern Munchen, especially because I'm thinking about doing it with Salzburg in the next round of the Champions League. Moving to Sunday, Bochum hosting RB Leipzig. Currently, Bochum a 3/4 goal three-quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Leipzig. Might climb to a full goal. Bochum play really well at home, and they make it hard on teams. Leipzig had to go to the north of Spain to play Sociedad, and that's going to be a quick turnaround for them. The nice part for Leipzig, though, is they are very deep, and that makes it really, really tough for Bochum to handle, even with a lot better rest or a rest advantage. Maybe this hits one. I'll start thinking about it a little bit more deeply. But from where I'm at right now, I'm definitely going to avoid at 3/4. We'll see what happens when it hits a full goal of insurance, however. Augsburg then hosting Borussia Dortmund, getting a full goal right now. Dortmund, they're up and they're down, they're up and they're down. I mean, it's probably going to happen again where they got eliminated by Rangers from Europa League. It's probably good for them to try to figure some things out and actually learn how to play sports, because they've not been good at it. But from where I sit, I think Augsburg, getting an equalizer last weekend was pretty big. And I think at a +1, hard not to think about them, especially going against the Borussia Dortmund defense. Problem is Augsburg defense is not great, and Dortmund can score a ton. So one doesn't feel like a ton when you're backing a really poor team. Last but not least, going to Ligue 1, we have Montpellier hosting Rennes today, now apparently on Friday. Currently Montpellier, half a goal underdog. And they've been playing well. Finally got the reward of the 3 points last weekend with a 1-0 win. They're a good team. They score goals. Rennes are really good, though. And so it's hard for me to want to fade Rennes, because I feel like every time I do, they get me, and usually with a late goal to make it feel even worse at the end. Not a lot to do with a late goal here, as they're only getting a half of a goal, but a home draw is enough to win. So I'm interested in Montpellier. We'll see what happens, see with lineups and how that all looks. But I still believe in Montpellier. Savanier, with a good performance last weekend, is also really talented. So I'm interested for sure in Montpellier getting half of a goal at home, despite it being from a really good Rennes team. Strasbourg then hosting Nice. Currently, Strasbourg a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice as well. Strasbourg playing really well, but that's a big jump for me in terms of respect from the marketplace. Nice as they climb higher and higher, especially with Galtier and how he plays defense. They haven't been playing as well lately, but he's great at shutting down the other team. Strasbourg defense, I don't really believe in. I do believe that they can score goals, though, and so that makes it a little bit scarier to go against them. But as a half of a goal favorite, that I think I'll play Nice on Saturday afternoon. PSG then hosted in Saint Etienne, currently giving 2.25 goals. Probably very upset off their loss to Nantes, and Saint Etienne are in a relegation dogfight fighting their way out, but they've been getting some good results lately, playing a lot better at 2.25. I mean, it's big enough for me to want to play at Saint Etienne because it's above 2 essentially. But PSG are hard to fade. They haven't been playing great lately. They've been scoring goals late to really crush me. But I don't know. Saint Etienne, they were able to hang on and play tight to Lyon in a similar situation on the road as a big underdog a couple maybe months ago now. But PSG are a little bit different of an animal. Monaco then hosting Reims on Sunday morning. Monaco, a 1.25 goal favorite right now with all the juice on Reims. So maybe this has fallen to 1. Reims have not been playing great. They've been dealing with a lot of kind of bad luck, I feel like, though that kind of explains away why they haven't been covering of late. But a red card and conceding on a set piece and that being the only goal in the match because big saves were thrown up against them by Nantes a couple weekends ago. That's pretty tough. Monaco, I still don't believe in score goals, though, and Reims have been a pretty good team to kind of hold things together. And I believe that they're a good team, and they've gotten some big upset victories as well. So I'm pretty interested in Reims getting that full goal of insurance and the current 1.25, though it's very juiced. Clermont Foot then hosting Bordeaux, giving half of a goal. Coming off a big win on Marseille, Clermont Foot playing a ton better. Bordeaux looking like they might go down, and that's very scary, though they played a little bit better last week. I think from where I sit, not much for me to do here. I just can't back Bordeaux until they show they have a defense, and that probably won't happen this season. Brest, a quarter goal favorite with all the juice right now to Lorient. Lorient just are not good enough for me to want to back. Brest is a big favorite, is probably not deserved, but not much for me to do there. Metz hosting only a pick'em with Nantes with all the juice. I think I expected Nantes to be a favorite. Metz routinely don't get any respect from odds makers. Played pretty tightly with Lille last season, last weekend, last Friday, who might have had eyes on Champions League at Chelsea, but that didn't help them much. Not a lot for me to do here at pick'em. Even if Metz climbed an underdog, I just don't know. Especially the way Nantes played PSG, I think they caught PSG in a tough spot emotionally or mentally, psychologically. But there's some good confidence to come from that, and that's really a very good team, basically. Angers then hosting Lens, currently a pick'em with Lens with all the juice. I don't know where this line comes from. Angers getting way too much respect because they're selling off their keepers when they don't have anything behind them because they're in such a financial situation. Amazed. I expect them to go down this year. They played a lot better, but they're probably getting their players are looking at next contracts elsewhere. That's not a good situation to be in. Lens are going to control possession. They're probably going to score a goal and probably more than one. And I don't know if Angers can keep up. Not a lot for me to do, though, as I only back underdogs in this sport. Troyes then hosting Marseille, currently half a goal underdog at home. Marseille coming off midweek at Korabag, who I believe are Armenian or something like that. There's a trip involved there for sure, and then have to go on the road to Troyes. And win the match as a half a goal favorite with all the juice. So they're probably climbing to 3/4 of a goal. Not sure that there's enough for me to want to do anything there. And then last but not least, Lyon hosting Lille, currently half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. I think I was even expecting this one to be 3/4 based on how poorly Lille have been playing of late. 5-1 loss to PSG despite being equalizing on 1-1 and then going. I mean, that was pretty bad. Don't know what they were thinking against Chelsea midweek in Champions League as well. I mean, the first goal was tough that they conceded on a set piece, and then they were pushing forward way too much and basically lost a really important UCL tie for them, like lost in the first leg because they didn't decide to keep defending. Let Chelsea, who weren't really scoring any goals, counterattack. I mean, I'm certainly also upset about it because 1.5 looked like they should have covered that number and had a lot of the ball and were doing pretty well. I don't know. Lille, certainly from the poor start to the season, kind of looked like they were rounding into form, had the Christmas break period or whatever, and then are nowhere near the same side. The nice part is they play Lyon, who are not in a great position because they sold a lot of their players. and they have to win, looks like by a full goal in order to take my full unit, or more than that, to take a full unit if this climbs to 3/4. So I'm interested in Lille. Not feeling great about them. I don't know what their lineup's going to look like, having to play midweek in Champions League in London, and then having to come back to the east of France, to Lyon, with a trip back home to Lille in northern France in the middle of it. I don't know. I think from where I sit, based on what I think about these two teams, I think that Lille should be able to hang. But it's going to be tough in front of a big crowd. Lyon didn't have to play midweek because they had gotten a bye in Europa League, and Lille have not been playing great as of late. I do think I'll probably eventually come around and be like, Lille at their best are much more similar to Lyon than this number would suggest, though. So that's something that'll always hang out in the back of my mind, but form has not been great of late, and I'm trying to consider that as a potential reason to talk myself out of potential play if I can. So that'll do it. That is this weekend's episode, late night. Hopefully everyone can catch in at 40 minutes. I did pretty well, I think, especially this late. Hope everyone enjoyed. If you got any questions, holler the real_G Warner on Twitter, and we'll talk to you soon.